If I really wanted to talk about every single thing wrong with modern dating, I think we'll be here forever, right? So I just picked five things that I think makes modern dating hell on earth. And to do this, I've got a little marker board here because I'm coming in hard, okay? I'm not messing around. And these 5 things I'm going to approach from a psychological point of view. So let's get into it. I saw him first. Hi everyone, welcome back to I Saw Him First podcast. It's your host Angie. I hope you like the background. I switched up the light a little bit. I don't even know if you can notice, but let's get into it. Number 1, a false perception of our match in the dating pool, what we think we deserve in the dating market. For example, this girl, let's call her Angie. Let's say Angie thinks she is a 6, right? So Angie's graded herself a 6. I hope you guys can see. I hope you can see. Angie thinks she's a 6. And so Angie is only swiping on men that are 6s, 7s, and 8s, right? Let's say she doesn't want to go too high. She knows her level. So she's only swiping on 6s, 7s, and 8s. But these men that are 6s, 7s, and 8s, they don't think Angie is a 6 at all. They actually think Angie is a 5. They're like, wait a minute, you're not a 6, you're a 5. And so none of these men wants Angie. Neither of them want Angie because they also want to date someone on their level or higher. So a 6 will want to date a 6 or a 7. A 7 will want to date a 8 or 9. A 9 will want to 8 want to date a 9 or a 10, right? So that's kind of the psychology of it all. We sort of very subconsciously practice homogamy or hypergamy, which is going for someone in your level or someone above your level. And I think this is a big problem. And I don't see a world where we find a solution to it, right? Unless we all just went to some center, unless we all just perhaps visited some, I don't know what it would even be called. Let's call it a beauty diagnosis, right? Let's say we all got a beauty diagnosis, which it would be so problematic on so many levels because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, right? But let's assume there was somewhere we could all go to and we would get a diagnosis of what number we are on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of attractiveness. I think this would actually make modern dating a lot easier because we can stop fooling ourselves, right? Angie, let me write a name down here. Oh, my macro pen isn't very good, you guys. Pardon me, okay? Right, Angie will stop thinking that she's all that. Angie will stop thinking that she can get a 6, a 7, and an 8, right? And she will just quietly go for someone who is a 5, just like she is. Now, I know this is based solely on looks because most of the couples together today met on dating apps. So this is the world of modern dating that we live in. So do you see where the problem is? Let me give you another scenario. Let's say Bob. This is Bob. Bob knows he is a 7. Let's give Bob a 7. Bob knows he's a 7. And perhaps he's actually right. He's a 7. However, I mentioned hypergamy earlier. Bob being a man that he is, right? Bob only wants to date higher. Men love it. They love having a beautiful woman on their arms. It's a sign of competence on their end, right? Why do you see a rich man and then you know he's going to have a hot, beautiful woman on his arm because his wealth allows him the privilege to date beautiful women, right? So Bob is a 7. And let's say Bob is making good money, part of what makes him a 7. So now being a 7, he thinks, I can get hotter girls. I can go for 8s, 9s, and even 10s. Because #hypergamy, I want to date someone better than me. I want to date a hot girl. I want the hottest girl in the room. So now Bob, a 7, is going for all these hot girls, 8, 9s, and 10s. But this 8, 9, and 10s, they know that they're hot. Oh, they know. You don't have to tell a hot girl that she's hot. She knows that she's hot because she's also getting so many attention. They're getting so many attentions from men that are not 7s. No, these men that are giving them attention are also 8s, 9s, and 10s. So tell me, why would she go for a bub? Why would any of these beautiful women who are 8s, 9s, and 10s, why would they go for bub when they can also get 8, 9s, and 10s? So do you see the problem here? Do you see the problem here? And pardon my, really, really bad ink, but I'm pretty sure you get the analogy. I'm pretty sure you get it. So this is a problem. Someone is inflated. In the case of Angie, she's inflated our idea of how hot she is. And so she's going for people that she thinks is on a level where she's wrong. Other people do not see her that way. On the other hand, Bob, he knows his level. He knows he's a 7. He knows he's good enough. He knows he's hot. He knows he's got good money. He knows he can do well in the dating market. But he wants more. He's selfish. It's not selfishness. You're greedy. You're greedy. That's the word. You're greedy. You want to get more. You're so hungry for more and more and more. That is the problem in this dating market. We have an inflated perception of what we are and what we can get. And again, yes, I know this is solely based on looks and status, but in the dating pool, especially when you're swiping on apps, this is solely what you're basing it on. How tall they are, how attractive they are. And yes, maybe some of us will swipe right on their hobbies. So yeah, don't come for me. I'm just a messenger of the message. Let's move on now to number 2. Using our past conquests as a benchmark for our future conquest. And I know I'm saying conquest. I just couldn't think of a better word. So let's just get into it. And this one, I have to give credit to Chris Williamson from the Modern Wisdom podcast. I love listening to that. Anyway, let's talk about it. And I managed to find a highlighter. I hope it rubs off. I'm using the highlighter for this because, the marker board thing wasn't working properly. Okay, right. So, what do I mean by that? We're using our past conquest as a benchmark for our future conquests. Okay. I'm going to use Angie as an example again. This time, let's bump Angie up a little bit. Let's give her a 7. So, this is Angie. Angie's a 7. Angie's a 7. Right, so Angie in the past has actually managed to date an 8. Angie's managed to find someone who is an 8. So even though Angie knows she's a 7, she's fine with that. But she knows also that she can get an 8. So now it's like, I've had better. Why would I settle for less when I've had better, right? But what Angie doesn't realize is there's a reason that this 8 did not stick. There's a reason that this 8 did not stay for the long run. Because this 8, let's face it, also knows it can get an 8, a 9, and a 10. And he views Angie as a 7. Now, even if he really likes Angie, there's still this human tendency that we have to just like, we just want more. We just want better. We're kind of like, we're just kind of greedy like that. Not everyone, but a lot of us are like that. That's how we think, right? So this man who's an 8, let's call him Jack. Jack is like, I think I'll just go ahead and date 8, 9, or 10. Sorry, Angie. So breaks Angie's heart, dumps Angie who's a 7. However, Angie is still going ahead thinking she can date an 8, going around looking for more 8s without thinking that there's a reason the 8 didn't stick. Perhaps you should, I don't like to use this word, but perhaps you should lower your standard a little bit and come back to a 7 on your level. It sucks. It sounds stupid. It sounds mean, but I'm here to talk about the troubles that we face. I'm here to talk about, all the bad things wrong with modern dating. Okay, it's very useful. It's very useful to think about. And no, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't aspire to date hypergamously, because guess what? Jack is doing the same. Jack is not only sticking to 8s. Jack is going 9 and 10. So of course, Angie can look for 9s as well, 8s and 9s. And even if she wants, she can go ahead and try and get a 10. But But will she suffer? Of course she will. She's going to go through a very, very hard time. Yeah, that's a problem. She will have to wait a long time to really get an 8 or a 9 and a 10. And something that Chris Williamson said that actually is very rude. Very, very rude. But in a way, I kind of agree with that. I don't know what that makes me. I don't know if that also makes me rude and mean for thinking that way, but I kind of think that is true. So it says something. It's like, yeah, a 9 will sleep with a 7. So a man who's a 9 will sleep with a girl who's a 7. It will sleep with a girl who's a 6. It will sleep with a girl who's a 5, but it wouldn't settle for her. It wouldn't pick her. Like he wouldn't, even if he dated her, quote unquote, he wouldn't get in a relationship with her. And even if he got in a relationship with her, he wouldn't marry her. Like she wouldn't be the chosen one. And again, I know this is a lot, like solely based on looks and status. But again, modern dating is skewed in that way. We are after the most attractive and the most, successful people. Yes, there are nuances where we care about people's hearts. And that tends to happen when we meet them in real life, as opposed to swiping on the apps or whatever. So yeah, of course there are nuances, but objectively speaking, the way we're swiping right now in 2024 for the past however few years that dating apps have been predominant, I think this is the mindset that we have, and this is the problem that we are facing. Let's move on now to problem number 3. Hypergamy and the education gender gap. Right, this one I've briefly touched on. Wanting to date hypergamously, meaning higher than your level. And I've made a podcast about this called Why Women Want High Value Men, if you want to go check it out and watch it in more detail. But I'm going to summarize what that means now. So right now, in about 65% of the world population, there are currently more women in higher education than there are men. And that kind of trickles down to, men potentially earning less along the line in the next decade, maybe, compared to women. So while we are in a feminist society where, women can be breadwinners, there's still a large proportion of women that want to date hypergamously. They want their men to earn better than they are. They want men of higher status. They want men that are doing very well, the successful men. And you've probably heard this saying, ooh, all the women on the apps are swiping on the top 15%. Well, it kind of is true. 85% of women, just approximating, about 85% of women are only swiping on the top 15% of men. So that leaves the rest of the bottom 80. That's a lot. Bottom 85? That's not even the 20th percentile. That is huge. That is huge. And when this happens, it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise that women are gonna, all these women, right? All this 85% of women, they're gonna struggle because they're all going after the same men. I think it's simple maths. It's very self-explanatory. How can all these women coming from different angles, look, they're even coming from here, they're all attacking this top 15% of men. It's gonna be the battle of the fittest. It really will be the battle of the fittest. It's gonna be a hard time. It's gonna really be a hard time out here because we're not all gonna win. Unless, of course, this 15% dates what's the word? Not monogamous. What's the other word for monogamous when you're not monogamous? When you're dating multiple women, basically. Perhaps that might be the solution. Men choosing to marry 3 wives. Perhaps we might get to some kind of even ground if that happens. But let's face it, a lot of us just want one man to ourselves. We're selfish in that way. We're human. So what's the solution to this? You guys, I don't know. But clearly this is a problem. Okay, let's move on now to number 4. This one I do not need my macro board for because it kind of goes without saying. The Maxmizers. And I am guilty of this. I'm the queen of the grass is always greener. Oh, perhaps. Oh, maybe I can get better. Oh, maybe there is better out there. Maybe. Oh, I don't have to compromise. You shouldn't have to compromise. I'm the queen of saying that on this podcast. You shouldn't have to compromise. You can get the best of the best. And you can get everything that you want. I've said that so many times. But is it true? Is it really true? In some cases, yes. In some cases, it's true. In some cases, perhaps you're with someone that is below your standard. Perhaps in some cases you can do better. But where does it end and when does it stop? Like, at what point do you just like pick one? At what point do you realize that what you've got is enough? Not more than enough, that what you've got is the gold standard. At what point do you stop looking left and right and up and down and trying to find a better match for you? At what point do you just choose that person and say, you're the match, you're the one for me? And this is not just, for the men. I know men are notoriously bad for this, right? They're always switching until they get to probably their late 30s or 40s. That's when they finally settle down. It's like what is it called? The taxi light, analogy, where it's like, oh, men, you can be the best woman in the world. Men will not pick you until they're ready. When the taxi light is on, whoever gets into the taxi at that point is the person that they pick, right? Because they've maximized so long, they keep thinking, oh, if I've let using numbers again, if I've let a 7 out of 10 go, I can't date any lower than that now. The next person I get with has to be an 8 and then has to be a 9 and then has to be a 10. And then you just keep maximizing and maximizing. It doesn't get higher than a 10, does it? Like, pick one. At some point, we're going to have to pick one. If we want to be happy, if we want to live happily ever after and have a true companion and have love that surpasses generations and grow old together and be like 120 together, looking at your great grandkids, you're going to have to pick one at the end of the day. Right, let's go to the final point. Problem number 5. Commitment issues. And yeah, it might sound similar to maximizing, but no, it's not, because maximizers, they find it difficult to choose, right? But with commitment phobes, yes, they've chosen one, they've committed, they've decided you're my girlfriend, but they're finding it so hard to be faithful. They're not loyal to just one. They've picked one. They're like, yeah, you're my girlfriend, you're boyfriend, girlfriend. Perhaps you even marry them. Oh my God. But then they're still cheating on you. Hookup culture, dating apps, casual sex, all of this kind of like feeds into it. Because at the end of the day, if no woman or no man is having sex with married people, then married people will have no man and women to have sex with. I'm going to say that again. As a married man, if you cannot find any lady to have sex with you, knowing that you're married, then you're not going to have any women to have sex with. We're the problem. We are the problem. There's women out there that they know this guy is in a relationship, but they still go after him. They know this guy is married, but they still go after him. There are men that are married and are in relationships, but they still flirt. They still, go out on nights out, on lads' holidays and pick random girls on the street to hook up with. And it's just like, yeah, it's just sex, right? It's just sex, right? No, it's not. No, it's not. If it's just sex, then why is it illegal to just do it outside on the street? It's called, indecent exposure or whatever it is. It's illegal to just stay in the middle of the street and have sex there while everyone's watching. If it's just sex, it's just like eating a sandwich. Yeah, it's legal to eat your sandwich. No one's going to arrest you for eating a sandwich in the middle of the street. But you're gonna get handcuffs if you just start having sex in the middle of the street, wouldn't you? So no, it's not just sex. It's not. As much as, this feminist society and very open-minded society, as much as we're happy, we don't want to criminalize sex anymore. We don't want to, make it look like such a bad thing. And it's not. When it's done in the comfort of like your committed relationships, your marriage, of course it's a beautiful thing. But if you're going around just having sex with multiple people, just casually, I'm not gonna judge. I don't think it's right, but you do you. I think this is a big problem. I think it's a reason why we can't pick one. And the reason why even when we pick one, we're still reminiscing about what's out there, because we know there are girls out there, because we know there's so many people that are just willing to do it very freely. It's so cheap and accessible. And it shouldn't be. I think we should hold sex in relationships to a higher regard than we do. Wasn't it this UK influencer, Mara Musa, who tweeted recently that she said celebrities don't even value marriages anymore because they're just getting divorced left, right and center. It's kind of true. I think we need to pay more regard than we do to sex, marriage, and relationships. I think we need to hold it to a higher standard and kind of like revive the essence of it, you know, treat it as something special. When you hold something in your hand that's valuable, you're less likely to like mess around with it. But if you just think of it as like, yeah, I can just get another one, like, of course, if you have a box of cotton buds, there's so many cotton buds, probably 100 in that box. You're not going to hold one cotton bud like it's, you know, the end of the world. But if you had a piece of gold, if you had a gold bar, ooh, you're going to be holding the gold bar like this. Ooh, I don't want it to fall. Let me clean it, make sure it's like squeaky clean and like, oh, I have to treat this like it's royalty, you know? So I think that's the way we need to think of our relationships and think of sex and think of marriage as something special, something of high regard that we need to like, you know, cater to and take care of and, you know, make it flourish, you know. That's the end of this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, let me know in the comment what you think. And if you want me to make more videos like this, just let me know. I really enjoyed this, guys. Once you're done with this, check out every single video on my YouTube channel if you have the time. Not begging, just saying. Bye.